December 9th, 1941, 2 days after Pearl Harbor. John Carson's hands shook as he read the letter. Not from fear, from rage. Classification 4F. Unfit for military service. No. He said it out loud. To no one. To everyone. No, no, no. His mother appeared in the kitchen doorway. She'd been crying. She saw the letter and cried harder. John, sweetheart, don't. He crumpled the paper. The official seal cracked. Don't say it doesn't matter. Don't say I'm needed here. Don't. The screen door slammed. Mark came in carrying firewood, saw their faces, and stopped. They rejected you. Not a question. Mark already knew. Everyone in Madison County knew what 4F meant. The men at the feed store knew. The women at church knew. Charlie Henderson knew, and Charlie Henderson was 53 with one lung. John threw the letter at the wall. My back, his voice broke. A tractor accident 3 years ago, and now I can't... He couldn't finish. Couldn't say fight. Couldn't say serve. Couldn't say matter. Mark set down the firewood carefully. Too carefully. The way you move when you're about to deliver bad news. I got my orders. I leave Tuesday. Their mother made a sound like something dying. Fort Des Moines first, Mark continued. Then England by March, they think. Maybe France after that. He looked at John. I need you to do something for me. What? John's voice was hollow. Take care of them. Ma and Pa, the farm, the bees. Mark stepped closer. And take care of yourself, because when I come back, and I am coming back, I need you to still be here. Still be you, not whatever this is. John wanted to hit him, wanted to scream, wanted to trade places, trade bodies, trade the stupid injury that had ruined everything. Instead, he hugged his brother, hard. Come back, he whispered. That's all. Just come back. Tuesday came too fast. John drove Mark to the recruitment station in Winterset. Their father sat in the back seat, silent. Their mother stayed home. Couldn't bear it. At the courthouse, 42 young men lined up. John recognized most of them. Tommy Chen from the hardware store, the Patterson twins, Billy Foster, who'd been quarterback their senior year. They were laughing, excited, ready. Mark joined the line, turned back once, raised his hand. John raised his back. Then Mark was gone. Swallowed by a green RE bus, and John was driving home, alone with his father, and the war had taken his brother while leaving him behind. The letter started in January. Dear John, England is cold and wet and the food is terrible, but the people are kind. They've been fighting for 2 years and they're tired, but they haven't broken. Makes me think of you with the bees. Patient, stubborn. I can't tell you where I am or what I'm doing. Censors, you know. But I think about the farm every day, about Ma's cooking, about Pa's terrible jokes, about you in that workshop at 2 a.m. mixing God knows what. Stay busy. Don't let the 4F thing eat at you. You're doing your part. Love. Mark John read it 17 times. Then put it in a box with the rejection letter. 2 pieces of paper that said the same thing, you're not enough. He went to the workshop. By March, he'd expanded the bee operation to 70 hives. By April, 90. By May, he was producing more honey than the rest of Madison County combined. His father worried. Son, you're working yourself to death. I'm working. At 3 a.m., that's not working. That's running. I'm fine. He wasn't fine, but fine was a luxury for people who weren't watching their brothers ship off to die. The telegram came April 15th. War Production Board. Stop all surplus. Honey designated military use. Stop. Collection team arriving May 2nd. Stop. John stared at it. Military use. His honey. His bees. Finally contributing to something. He worked harder. May 2nd. A truck arrived. The driver was Chinese-American Lieutenant's bars on his collar, clipboard in hand. He didn't smile. Didn't make small talk. Just walked straight to the honey house and started counting. Lieutenant Robert Chen, Agricultural Resource Division. He opened a tin, checked the seal. You're Carson. John Carson. This is my operation. 1,600 gallons. Chen made a note. Grade A quality, medical ration production, and special requisition. Special requisition, Chen looked up, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Chemical research. They're testing honey as a lubricant substitute. Petroleum's tight. They need alternatives. John's brain caught fire. Has it worked? No, too water-soluble, breaks down under friction. They've tried mixing it with beeswax plant oils, pine resin. Nothing stable enough. Chen returned to counting. Why, just curious. You don't look just curious. You look like someone with an idea. John hesitated. Then, I've been experimenting. Nothing professional, but I've mixed compounds that stay stable across temperature ranges. Used them on farm equipment. Chen stopped counting. Show me. They went to the workshop. John opened his notebook. 17 failed batches, temperature logs, viscosity tests, the crude equipment of an amateur with too much time and too much guilt. Chen flipped through pages. Stopped at mixture 12. Honey beeswax linseed oil, pine resin, 3:1.5 ratio. He looked up. You test this under load, on wagon axles, door hinges, tractor joints. Results. Silent operation for 6 weeks minimum, no breakdown at temperatures from 20 to 95 degrees. Chen pulled out a pen, started copying ratios. Wait, John said. Why do you care about silent operation? I don't, but the Army does. Chen kept writing. Supply trucks moving at night, artillery that needs to relocate without giving away position, equipment that can't make noise. He finished writing. Looked at John. Men die when wheel bearings squeak. You understand that... John's throat tightened. Mark was over there. In France somewhere. Moving supplies, running reconnaissance. I understand. Good. Chen tore out the page. I'm taking this to my supervisor. If it works, someone will be back. Keep experimenting. Keep notes. And Carson... He paused at the door. Don't tell anyone. This conversation didn't happen. Then he was gone. The truck loaded with 1,600 gallons of honey, $200 in government pay, and 1 page of notes that might matter. John went back to the workshop. Mixture 18 caught fire. John didn't notice until smoke filled the room. He grabbed the burning rag, threw it in the sink, turned on water. The fire died. The smoke didn't. His father burst in. Jesus Christ, John. What are you... I'm fine, it's fine. You're not fine. You're in here every night until dawn, mixing chemicals, barely eating. His father grabbed his shoulders. Son, you have to stop. This isn't healthy. Mark's getting shot at, and I'm playing with bees. John's voice cracked. Don't tell me about healthy. Nothing about this is healthy, but at least I'm trying to... He couldn't finish. His father pulled him close. John was taller, broader, but in that moment felt 6 years old again. What you're doing matters, his father said quietly. The farm, the food, even these experiments, it all matters. It doesn't feel like it matters. Feelings lie, son. Facts don't. And the fact is, someone needs to keep this place running. Someone needs to be here when Mark comes home. When, not if. John nodded, pulled away, wiped his eyes. I need to adjust the oil ratio, he said. His father sighed, but he left John alone. June 17, 1943. The black Ford sedan came up the drive at sunset. John saw it from the hives. His stomach dropped. That's how death notifications arrived. Black car, uniformed officer, words that destroyed families. He ran, but the car didn't stop at the house. It pulled up to the honey house. A man got out civilian clothes, leather briefcase, looking around like he'd never seen a farm before. Mr. Carson, John Carson? John slowed, breathing hard. That's me? Martin Reeves, Department of Agriculture, currently detailed to War Production Board. He opened his briefcase, pulled out a jar. Lieutenant Chen filed a report about you, about Mixture 12. The jar was amber-colored, thick. Label in neat handwriting SSC4. Sweet Silence Compound, John read. Number 4. The 4th variant that didn't explode, freeze, or liquefy. We've been working 18 months to develop a petroleum alternative for military applications. Reeves handed him the jar. We're failing. It works at 65 degrees. Above 80, it becomes soup. Below 40, it's concrete. We need something stable. John held the jar up. The compound moved slowly. Too slowly. You're using refined honey, he said. That's your problem. Refined honey crystallizes. Raw honey stays stable. Reeves blinked. How do you... I keep bees, Mr. Reeves. 20 million of them. I know honey. John handed back the jar. Your compound's too pure. You need impurities. Pollen, propolis. The things that make raw honey stay liquid. Reeves stared at him, then pulled out a notebook. What else? Your wax ratio's too high, makes it stiff, and you're not accounting for seasonal variation in honey composition. Spring honey's different from fall honey. Different sugar balance. Jesus Christ, Reeves was writing fast. Chen said you were self-taught. I read, I experiment, I fail a lot. John nodded toward the workshop. Want to see 17 failures. They spent 2 hours in the workshop. John showed him every mixture, every test, every failure, and half success. Reeves took notes on everything. Finally, he closed his notebook. Mr. Carson, the Army has a problem. We have vehicles that need to operate in silence. Supply trucks, mobile artillery, equipment I can't describe. Standard greases squeak, grind, give away positions. He met John's eyes. Men die because someone forgot to grease a wheel bearing properly. John thought of Mark, in a truck somewhere, moving supplies through enemy territory. What do you need from me? Develop variations on Mixture 12. Test them. Keep detailed records. I'll visit monthly for samples. Reeves paused. You can't tell anyone. Espionage Act. This is classified. I understand. And Mr. Carson? Reeves's voice softened. If this works, if we can develop a reliable compound, you'll be saving lives. Not with medals or glory, just saving them. Is that enough? John looked at the workshop, at 17 failures, at the tools of an amateur who couldn't fight but could maybe contribute something. It has to be, he said. After Reeves left, John didn't sleep. He pulled out Mixture 12, examined it, started adjusting, less beeswax, more pine resin, raw honey from the spring harvest instead of the refined stuff, a drop of propolis extract. He mixed it by hand, slow, careful, the way you do when it might matter. By midnight, he had variation 12A. By 2 a.m., variation 12B. By dawn, when his father came to wake him, John was testing 12C on the barn door hinges. The door swung open, silent, smooth, no squeak. His father watched, said nothing, just squeezed John's shoulder and went to start breakfast. John stood there listening to silence where there used to be noise. Mark's most recent letter was in his pocket, arrived yesterday, barely readable through the censor marks. Can't say where, can't say what, but it's coming soon. Something big. Pray for us. Something big. June 1943. Everyone knew what that meant. Invasion, France, the beginning of the end or the end of everything. John touched the jars of 12C. I'm trying, Mark, he whispered to no one. I'm trying. The bees hummed in their hives. The war continued across the ocean, and in a workshop in Iowa, a man who couldn't fight found a different kind of weapon. He just didn't know yet that in 11 months that weapon would save his brother's life. But he would find out. On June 13, 1944, when Mark Carson's convoy crossed 12 miles of enemy territory in complete silence and came out the other side alive. That story, though, that was still coming. For now, there was only work, only hope, only the compound that smelled like honey and tasted like redemption. John got back to work. July burned hot that year. John worked through it. Mixture 12C failed in the heat. Turned to syrup by noon. John poured it out and started again. 12D, less linseed oil, more pine resin. He tested it on the tractor at 4 a.m. when the temperature dropped to 62 degrees. Silent. Perfect. Then again, San at 2 p.m. when it hit 94. The compound held. He wrote everything down. Temperature. Humidity. Load weight. Duration. The notebook filled with numbers that meant nothing to anyone except maybe Martin Reeves, who wouldn't return until August. Mark's letter arrived July 23rd. Training's intensified. Can't say more. But John, if you're still mixing those compounds in the workshop, keep going. Army's desperate for anything that works. Heard rumors they're testing honey-based stuff. Crazy, right? Love you, brother. John held the letter until his hands stopped shaking. Then he went back to work. August 3rd. The black Ford returned. Reeves got out carrying a metal case. He looked older, thinner, like he hadn't slept in weeks. Show me what you have. No greeting, no small talk, just urgency. John led him to the workshop, lined up 6 jars on the workbench, 12C through 12H. This one, he pointed to 12E, stable from 15 to 110 degrees, silent under load, no breakdown after 8 weeks continuous use. Reeves opened the jar, smelled it, touched it, rubbed a small amount between his fingers. Honey beeswax, pine resin, linseed oil, and... He paused. What else? Propolis, just a trace, and I use only spring honey. Fall honey crystallizes. How much propolis? 2% by weight. Reeves pulled out his notebook, started writing. His hand trembled slightly. Are you okay? John asked. No. Reeves didn't look up. We're losing men every night because trucks squeak and give away positions. because artillery wheels grind and alert the enemy, because every goddamn bearing in the European theater sounds like a dying animal and we can't fix it fast enough. He finished writing. Looked at John. I need this compound in production by October. October? That's 8 weeks. I know. Can you produce enough for testing, say, 200 pounds? John calculated. 20 hives at peak production, processing time, mixing time. 200 pounds of compound or 200 pounds of honey? Compound. I'll need more beeswax, more pine resin, and I'll need help. I can't process that much alone. I'll authorize procurement. As for help, can you trust your father? John thought about his father in the burning workshop saying what you're doing matters. Yes. Good. Bring him in. Tell him it's classified war work. Nothing else. Reeves picked up the jar of 12E. Mr. Carson, if this works, and I mean really works, you'll be saving hundreds of lives. Maybe thousands. And if it doesn't, then I'm back to square one and men keep dying. Reeves met his eyes. No pressure. He left with all the 6 samples. The workshop felt empty without them. John found his father in the barn. Pa, I need to tell you something. They worked through August and September. His father never asked questions, just showed up every morning at 5 a.m., heated the mixing vat, strained, honey-melted beeswax. They worked in rhythm, father and son, making something that might matter. The house smelled permanently of honey and pine. John's mother complained once, then stopped when she saw the intensity on their faces. You're doing war work, she said quietly one evening. Not a question. John nodded. She kissed his forehead. Then I'll stop complaining about the smell. They produced 240 pounds of compound by September 20th, packed it in sealed tins, labeled each one SC12E batch number, date temperature mixed. Reeves came September 22nd with a truck and 2 soldiers. Load it carefully, he told them. That's liquid gold you're handling. The soldiers didn't understand. How could they? It was just honey and wax, just another requisition in a war full of requisitions. But Reeves knew. John could see it in his eye. I'll be in touch, Reeves said. Keep producing. Same formula, same process. I'll send word when we need more. The truck disappeared down County Road G64. John and his father stood watching until the dust settled. Think it'll work? His father asked. I hope so, Pa. I really hope so. October brought the first frost and a letter from Mark that made John's blood run cold. We're preparing for something. Everyone knows it. No one talks about it. But you can feel it, like waiting for a storm. The equipment's being modified. Vehicles, weapons, everything. Some trucks are running quieter now. Don't know how. Don't ask. But I think about you and those compounds, and I wonder, if it's you, if somehow what you're doing is connected, then thank you. Because quiet vehicles mean fewer ambushes, fewer deaths. If it's not, then ignore this. Either way, keep being stubborn. Keep trying. It matters more than you know. John read it 20 times, then showed it to his father. My God, his father whispered. He knows. He doesn't know he knows, but he knows. I can't tell him. Reeves said Hamonin. I know what Reeves said, but John, your brother's life might depend on your work. He deserves to know someone's looking out for him. He'll figure it out after, John said. If there is an after. They didn't talk about the alternative. November 8th. The telegram came. SSC-12E successful field trials stop approved. Mass production stop require 2,000 pounds monthly beginning December. Stop compensation increased. Stop congratulations stop. John's hands shook so badly his father had to read it for him. 2,000 pounds monthly. John, that's impossible. We'd need to expand to 300 hives. Hire workers, build a processing facility. Then we do it. In 3 weeks before winter. We do it, John repeated. Because somewhere in England, Mark and thousands of other men are preparing for something that might kill them. And if this... He held up the telegram. If this gives them even a slightly better chance, then we expand to 1,000 hives if we have to. His father stared at him, then nodded. I'll call the bank. You call the lumber yard. They worked through November like men possessed. Hired 6 workers from town farm boys, too young or too old for the draft. Built a proper processing facility in the North Field. Installed industrial heating vats purchased with a war production board. Authorization Reeves sent by courier. Expanded to 280 hives. John didn't sleep more than 4 hours a night. Didn't care. Every batch of compound was another chance to save someone. Maybe Mark, maybe someone else's brother. December came with snow and the first production run. 2,040 pounds of SSC-12E, packed in military-spec containers, loaded onto 3 Army trucks that arrived December 18th. The officer in charge was a captain named Mills, middle-aged, tired eyes. He supervised the loading personally. "You're Carson the beekeeper." "That's me." "I don't know what's in these containers, Mr. Carson. My orders are to transport them to the Brooklyn Navy Yard for shipment overseas, but I was told to deliver a message." Mills pulled out a folded paper. "From a Mr. Reeves." John opened it. "It works. Better than anything we've tested. Vehicles running silent across all European climates. Artillery moving undetected. Lives saved already. You did this. Keep producing. History will remember." M.R. John's vision blurred. He folded the paper carefully. "Tell Mr. Reeves thank you." "I will." Mills climbed into the lead truck. "And Mr. Carson, my brother's over there, driving supply trucks in England. If this stuff you made keeps him alive, I owe you everything." The trucks pulled out. John watched until they disappeared. His father found him 20 minutes later still standing in the snow. "Son." "They said it works, Pa. It actually works." His father put an arm around his shoulders. They stood together in the December cold, watching snow fall on empty fields and full hives and a workshop where amateur science had become military necessity. "Your mother wants you to come inside," his father said. "Says you'll catch your death." "In a minute." But he stood there longer, thinking about Mark, about Captain Mills' brother, about all the men whose names he'd never know, but whose lives might be a little bit safer because a farmer in Iowa refused to accept that he was useless. Christmas 1943 was quiet. Mark's letter arrived on Christmas Eve. The censor marks were heavier than ever, whole paragraphs blacked out. But between the lines, John could read the truth. It's coming soon. Spring, maybe. Everything's pointed toward one objective. Everyone's scared. Everyone's ready. I think about home every day. About the bees, about you in that workshop, about Pa's terrible jokes and Ma's cooking. If I don't make it back, the next 3 lines were completely blacked out. Know that I love you all, and I'm proud of you, John, more than you'll ever know. John folded the letter carefully, put it with all the others in the box under his bed. 37 letters now, a paper trail of a war he couldn't fight connected to a brother he might lose. He went to the workshop. Mixture 12E sat in a fresh batch on the workbench. He opened the jar, smelled honey and pine and hope. "Keep him safe," he whispered to it, to God, to whoever was listening. "Please, just keep him safe." The compound had no answer. It was just chemistry, just honey and wax and a farmer's stubborn refusal to accept defeat. But sometimes chemistry was enough. Sometimes stubbornness won wars. And sometimes the smallest contribution, the quietest victory, was the one that mattered most. January through April 1944 blurred into endless production. 2,000 pounds in January, 2,500 in February, 3,000 in March. They hired more workers, built more hives. John's mother started keeping the books because the numbers got too complex. Every batch went to Brooklyn. Every batch disappeared onto ships bound for England. And every week, John waited for Mark's letters to confirm he was still alive. The letters came. Sparse, censored, but they came. Until May. May brought silence. No letter on the 5th, none on the 12th, none on the 19th. By the 26th, John was barely functioning. "He's probably just busy," his mother said. "You know how it gets before—" She couldn't finish. Before invasion, before whatever was coming, before the storm Mark had written about. June 1st, still no letter. June 2nd. John produced 4,000 pounds of compound working 18-hour days to keep his mind occupied. June 3rd. His mother found him asleep at the workbench face down in his notebook. June 4th. The telegram came, but not the one he feared. Urgent. Stop. Require 1,000 additional pounds. SC-12E within 48 hours. Stop. Priority Alpha. Stop. Authorize any means necessary. Stop. John stared at it. 1,000 pounds. 48 hours. Impossible. Then we do the impossible, his father said. They called in every favor, every worker, every available resource, worked around the clock. John's mother brought food every 4 hours. The workers ate standing up. No one complained. 46 hours later, they'd produced 1,060 pounds. The trucks came at dawn on June 6th. The driver was new, young, maybe 20. He looked at the containers with something like awe. "Sir, I don't know what this is, but my orders say it's critical, that it's for the invasion." John's heart stopped. "What invasion?" "Turn on your radio, sir. It started this morning. We're in France." The driver supervised loading, then left. Fast. Racing to get the compound to Brooklyn before whatever window they had closed. John and his father ran to the house, turned on the radio, static, then a voice. "Eisenhower announces Allied forces have landed on the beaches of Normandy. Initial reports indicate heavy fighting but successful beachhead establishment." His mother was crying. His father stood frozen, and John thought about Mark, about the quiet trucks and silent artillery and compound that didn't squeak, about whether any of it had mattered, about whether his brother was alive or dead on a beach in France. The radio kept talking. Normandy. D-Day. The beginning of the end, or the end of everything. In a workshop in Iowa surrounded by empty jars and the smell of honey, a man who couldn't fight waited to find out if his war work had been enough. If it had saved anyone, if it had saved Mark, the answer would come. But not yet. Not for days that would feel like years. For now, there was only waiting. Only hope. Only the terrible silence between battle and news, between trying and knowing, between life and loss. And in that silence, 20 million bees hummed their ancient song, indifferent to human war, making honey that might have helped win the greatest battle in history. June 7th, 1944. No news. John sat by the radio from dawn until midnight. His mother brought food he didn't eat. His father tried to get him to sleep. He couldn't. The broadcast repeated the same information. Allied forces on Normandy beaches. Heavy casualties. Fierce fighting. No names. No units. Just numbers that meant everything and nothing. Somewhere in France, Mark was alive or dead, and John had no way to know which. He went to the workshop at 3 a.m., opened a jar of SSC-12E, stared at it like it might have answers. "Please," he whispered, "please let it have mattered." The compound just sat there, silent, like everything John had made. Like everything he'd tried to do. His father found him at dawn. "Son, you need to rest." "What if he's—" John couldn't say it. "Then we'll deal with it. But until we know, you have to keep going. That's what Mark would want." John nodded, didn't believe it, kept working anyway because stopping would mean giving up, and he couldn't do that. Not yet. June 8th. Still no news. Production continued. 2 workers quit, couldn't handle the pace. John worked their shifts. His hands bled from stirring vats. He wrapped them and kept going. June 9th. His mother made him eat at gunpoint. "If Mark comes home and finds you've worked yourself to death, I'll kill you myself," she said. He ate, tasted nothing, went back to work. June 10th. The radio announced Allied forces had linked the beachheads. Progress being made. Still no casualty lists, still no names. June 11th. John fell asleep at the workbench again. Woke up to his father shaking him. "There's someone here to see you." Martin Reeves stood in the doorway. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. "Mr. Carson, can we talk?" They walked to the house. Reeves declined coffee, sat at the kitchen table, pulled out a folder. "I can't tell you much. You understand that." "Is my brother alive?" John's voice cracked. "I don't know. I'm not in that chain of communication. But I can tell you that the compound you made SSC-12E was used on over 200 vehicles in the Normandy operation. Supply trucks, artillery transporters, medical convoys." John's hands gripped the table edge. "It performed beyond expectations," Reeves continued. "Vehicles moved through enemy-controlled territory undetected. Sound discipline was maintained even under heavy load. Initial reports indicate..." He paused. Looked at John directly. "Significant reduction in ambush casualties for units using treated vehicles." "How many lives?" "Can't quantify that yet. But Mr. Carson, entire convoys made it through areas where previous missions failed. One unit reported traveling 12 miles through German positions without detection." Reeves opened the folder, pulled out a photograph. It showed 6 army trucks lined up in formation. On the hood of the lead vehicle, someone had written in white paint, "Sweet Silence." "That's Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion, 28th Infantry Division," Reeves said. "They named their convoy after your compound, because it kept them alive." John stared at the photograph, tried to speak, couldn't. "Your brother's in the 101st Airborne, isn't he?" Reeves asked quietly. "Yes." "Then he probably wasn't in these initial convoys. Airborne dropped inland, but supply lines are moving up to support them now, using your compound. So if he's alive, Mr. Carson, you're helping keep him that way. After Reeves left, John sat holding the photograph. 6 trucks. Silent wheels. Men who made it home because a farmer in Iowa couldn't accept being useless. He put the photo in the box with Mark's letters, then went back to work. Because somewhere in France, his brother needed supplies. Ammunition, food, medicine, and trucks. Trucks treated with SSC-12E could deliver those supplies without dying in the attempt. Come. June 13th, 1944. 11:47 p.m. Mark Carson pressed against the side of a cargo truck, breathing through his nose, trying not to make a sound. Around him, 5 other vehicles sat motionless in the French darkness. Ahead, maybe 200-yard German artillery positions blocked the road to Carentan. "Can't go around?" Lieutenant Shaw whispered. "Too muddy. Trucks'll bog down." "Can't go back," Sergeant Miller added. "Battalion needs this ammo in 3 hours, or the attack fails." "So we go through," Mark said. "Slow, lights off. Pray they don't hear us." Shaw looked at the 6 trucks. 2,000 rounds of mortar ammunition, medical supplies for 300 wounded men, fuel for a dozen tanks. If they lost this convoy, good men would die tomorrow. "Those new grease jobs," Shaw said. "The honey stuff. How good is it?" Mark thought about John, about letters mentioning compounds and experiments, about a brother who couldn't fight finding another way to serve. "It's good, sir. Tested it 2 days ago, completely silent, even under full load." "2 days ago you weren't sneaking past German artillery." "No, sir, but I trust it." Shaw looked at his men, kids mostly, 18, 19 years old, scared but ready. "All right, engines off. We roll downhill using gravity. Stay 20 yards apart. If anyone gets spotted, the rest scatter. No heroes." "Understood?" They understood. Mark climbed into the second truck. His hands shook as he released the brake. The truck began rolling forward. Slow. Silent. The wheels turned without a whisper. No squeak. No grind. Just smooth rotation that shouldn't have been possible with 2 tons of cargo. They passed the first German position. Voices drifted across the darkness. Someone laughing. Someone else complaining about coffee. The trucks kept rolling. Silent as ghosts. Mark's heart hammered so loud he was sure the Germans could hear it, but they couldn't hear the wheels, couldn't hear the axles, couldn't hear 6 trucks carrying enough ammunition to change tomorrow's battle rolling right past their artillery. Half a mile. Then a mile. Then 2. 1 truck hit a pothole. Mark heard the cargo shift. Heard someone in that truck inhale sharply. But the wheels stayed silent. The compound held. 3 miles. 4. The German positions faded behind them. At 6 miles, they reached a slope. Gravity pulled them faster. Mark's foot hovered over the brake, ready to slow down, terrified the brake would squeal and give them away. It didn't. The compound worked on brakes too. Silent pressure, smooth deceleration, 8 miles, 9. They were through the worst of it now. American lines ahead. Just 3 more miles. Then Mark heard it. Motorcycle engine. German patrol. "Shit," someone whispered behind him. The motorcycle's headlights swept across the road, coming from the north, heading straight toward them. Shaw made a decision. He signaled, "Stop." Hide. Silent. The trucks rolled to gentle stops. Men jumped out, pressed themselves into shadows. Mark crouched behind his truck, hand on his rifle, barely breathing. The motorcycle approached. The rider was a lone young, probably on routine patrol. He passed within 10 feet of the first truck. Didn't see it, couldn't hear it. The silent vehicles blended into the darkness like they weren't even there. The motorcycle continued past. Its engine faded into the night. Shaw waited 5 minutes, then signaled move. They rolled the last 3 miles and crossed into American lines at 2:15 a.m. The sentries nearly shot them because they'd approached completely silent, and the password had changed since they'd left. "Jesus Christ," the sentry shouted after they'd identified themselves. "You guys sneak up like goddamn ninjas. Didn't hear you coming at all." "That's the point," Shaw said. They unloaded the cargo. 2,000 mortar rounds, medical supplies, fuel. Everything the battalion needed for tomorrow's push. The lieutenant in charge of the ammunition depot looked at Shaw like he'd performed a miracle. "How the hell did you get through? We lost 3 convoys last week trying the same route." Shaw pointed to the trucks. "New grease compound. Some kind of honey-based stuff. Keeps everything silent." "Honey." The lieutenant laughed. "You're telling me honey saved your ass?" "I'm telling you we drove 12 miles through German positions and they never heard us coming. So yeah, honey saved our ass." Mark stood by his truck, running his hand along the wheel hub. The compound still coated it golden brown, slightly sticky, smelling faintly of pine and sweetness. He thought about John, about a workshop in Iowa, about a brother who'd been told he was useless and had refused to believe it. "You did it," Mark whispered. "You crazy son of a bitch, you actually did it." So, June 15th, 1944. The letter arrived in Madison County. John was in the honey house when his mother came running. She was crying. He thought the worst. No, he's alive, John, he's alive." She thrust the letter into his hands. He read it standing there, legs shaking. "Dear family, I'm okay. Can't say much because censors, but I'm okay, and I wanted you to know. John, I don't know if you'll understand this, but a few nights ago my convoy had to move through bad territory, really bad, the kind where convoys don't usually make it. We made it because our trucks ran silent. Some new compound they're using on wheels and axles. Honey-based, the lieutenant said. Made by some farmer in Iowa. I don't know if it was your honey. Probably just coincidence. But I thought about you anyway. About those experiments. About what you wrote last year about making something that mattered. If it was you, if somehow what you've been doing in that workshop is connected, then you saved my life. You saved 6 trucks and 30 men. If it wasn't, then forget I said anything, but thank you anyway, for being you, for trying. Love always. Mark?" John read it 3 times. His mother was talking, but he couldn't hear her. His father appeared, read over his shoulder, and made a sound like a sob. "It was him," his father whispered. "It was his brother. Your compound saved your own brother." John's legs gave out. He sat down hard on a honey tin. The letter shook in his hands. He'd known the compound worked. Reeves had told him, but knowing abstractly that you'd saved lives and knowing you'd saved your brother's life were entirely different things. "John?" His mother knelt beside him. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" "He's alive." John's voice broke. "He's alive, and the compound worked, and he's alive." He started crying. Couldn't stop. His mother held him. His father's hand gripped his shoulder. And for the first time since December 9th, 1941, when that rejection letter had arrived, John Carson believed that maybe, just maybe, he hadn't been useless after all. Production doubled after that. June through August 1944, the Carson farm produced 6,000 pounds of SSC-12E monthly. They hired 20 workers, built a second processing facility. John's mother handled all administrative work. His father managed quality control. And John worked like a man possessed. Because every jar might save someone, every batch might keep another convoy silent, another soldier alive. The letters from Mark came regularly now, still censored, still vague, but alive. He was alive and fighting through France, and every letter was proof that the work mattered. Other letters arrived too. From Captain Mills, whose brother drove supply trucks and made it home safely. From Lieutenant Chen, who'd been reassigned to the Pacific and reported they were testing SSC-12E for jungle conditions. From soldiers whose names John would never know, but who wrote through official channels to say thank you. The Army sent commendations. The War Production Board increased his pay. Martin Reeves visited monthly and every time looked a little less exhausted. "You're doing it," Reeves said in August. "You're actually doing it. The compound's standard issue now for any vehicle operating in contested territory. We're producing it in government facilities too, but nothing matches the quality of your batches. Something about the Iowa honey." "It's the clover," John said, "and the timing. Spring honey's best. Fall honey crystallizes. Whatever it is, keep doing it. We're planning operations that depend on sound discipline. Your compound makes those operations possible." After Reeves left, John stood in the processing facility, a real building now, with proper equipment and trained workers, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not the hollow pride of being told you're useful. Real pride. Earned through sweat and failure, and stubborn refusal to give up. His bees had gone to war, his honey had become a weapon, and his brother was alive because of it. That night, John wrote back to Mark. Couldn't tell him about the Compound Espionage Act, but could tell him other things. "The farm's doing well, production's up, we're keeping busy. Stay safe, little brother. Come home when you can. There's work here that needs you, but until then, know that every day, in every way I can manage, I'm trying to make sure you have what you need to stay alive. That's all I can do, but I'm doing it as well as I know how. Love, John." He sealed the letter, sent it off, went back to work, because the war wasn't over, Mark wasn't home, and somewhere in Europe men still needed silent trucks and quiet weapons and every advantage they could get, in a workshop that had become a factory surrounded by the smell of honey and the hum of 20 million bees. A man who'd been told he was unfit for service proved that service takes many forms. And sometimes the quietest contribution, the one nobody hears, is the one that saves the most lives. September 1944 brought rain and a new urgency. Mark's letters arrived more frequently now, though they said less. The censors were getting stricter as Allied forces pushed deeper into France. But between the blacked-out lines, John could read the truth. The war was accelerating. Every day brought more fighting, more supplies needed, more convoys running through contested territory, more need for silence. The compound orders increased to £8,000 monthly, then 10,000. John hired 30 workers, expanded to 400 hives. The processing facility ran 24 hours a day in 3 shifts. His father took him aside one morning in October. "Son, you're going to work yourself to death." "Can't stop now, Pa. They're pushing toward Germany. Mark says, well, he can't say much, but I can read between the lines. They need everything we can produce. And what good are you to Mark if you collapse?" John looked at his father, saw the worry, saw the pride, too. "What good am I if I don't try everything I have?" His father had no answer for that. October 15, 1944. Martin Reeves arrived unannounced at 6 a.m. John was already in the processing facility checking the overnight batch. Reeves looked worse than ever, hollow-eyed, moving like every step hurt. "Mr. Reeves, are you—" "I need to tell you something." Reeves sat down heavily on a shipping crate. "Can't give details, but there's a major operation planned. Multiple operations, actually. The final push into Germany. When? Can't say, but soon. And Mr. Carson, John, every vehicle in those operations will be using your compound. Every truck, every artillery piece, every mobile unit that needs to move without being heard." John's hand stilled on the mixing vat. "How many vehicles from thousands, across multiple fronts?" Reeves pulled out a folder. His hands shook slightly. "I'm authorized to tell you this much. Your compound has been credited with saving an estimated 1,200 lives since June. Convoys that would have been ambushed made it through. Artillery units repositioned without detection. Medical transports reached field hospitals intact. 1,200 lives." John tried to comprehend that number. Failed. "I don't know if your brother was among those 1,200, Reeves continued, but statistically, if he's been in supply operations at all, your work has kept him safer. That's not speculation, that's mathematics." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I might not get another chance." Reeves stood. "The operation's coming. They're going to determine how this war ends. If we succeed, it's over by spring. If we fail—" He didn't finish. "Your compound gives us an advantage. Small, maybe, but in war, small advantages save lives. Win battles, change outcomes." He left without another word. John stood in the processing facility, listening to vats, bubbling, workers mixing machinery, humming. The sound of a farm that had become a weapons factory. His mother found him there an hour later. "John, there's something on the radio, from Europe." They ran to the house. The radio crackled with static, then cleared. "Reports of Allied forces advancing rapidly through Belgium. German resistance appears to be collapsing in several sectors. However, military analysts warn that the advance is outrunning supply lines." John's father turned up the volume. "Critical need for supplies to reach forward units. Weather conditions are worsening with early snow in the Ardennes region. Transportation officers report that sound discipline remains essential as German forces attempt to regroup." Sound discipline, the compound. "They're using it right now," John said. "Right now, somewhere in Belgium, trucks are running silent because of what we made here." His mother gripped his hand. Said nothing. Didn't need to. November brought the first telegram. "Compound performance exemplary. Stop, Ardennes conditions severe. Stop, request, £12,000. Additional December delivery. Stop, lives depend on it. Stop, £12,000 in 4 weeks. During winter, when bee activity slowed and honey production dropped." "It's impossible," one of the workers said. "Then we do the impossible," John replied. He'd said it before, would keep saying it until the war ended or he dropped dead trying. They worked through Thanksgiving. His mother brought turkey to the facility. They ate at their stations. Nobody complained. December brought snow and a letter from Mark that made John's blood run cold. Big push coming. Everyone knows it. Germans are making a last stand. Heard them call it their final gamble. Our supply lines are stretched thin. Every delivery counts. Every truck that makes it through means we can hold. Every truck that doesn't means good men die without ammunition, without food, without medical supplies. I don't know if you're still making that compound. Can't ask. Can't know. But if you are, if somehow you're still part of this, then know that it matters. More than you can possibly understand. Stay safe. Love you all." The letter was dated December 10th. It arrived December 14th. On December 16th, the radio announced German counteroffensive in the Ardennes. The Battle of the Bulge had begun. John didn't sleep for 3 days. Produced 15,000 pounds of compound in 5 days. Shipped it priority to Brooklyn. Prayed it arrived in time. Prayed Mark was alive to use it. The radio reports were brutal. Massive German assault. Allied forces caught off guard. Severe weather grounding air support. Everything depending on ground supply lines. On silent supply lines. December 20th, another telegram. Compound. Critical repeat, critical stop. Weather conditions preventing air resupply, stop. Ground convoys only. Option stop. Request. Maximum production stop. Maximum production. John looked at his workers. Looked at his father. Looked at the vats already running at capacity. We give them maximum production talk, he said. They worked Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Produced compound until John's hands bled and his vision blurred and his father had to physically drag him away from the vats to sleep for 4 hours. The radio reports slowly changed. Allied counterattack, German offensive stalling, resupply convoys breaking through, silent convoys, running through snow and ice, carrying ammunition and food and hope, making it through because nobody heard them coming. January 15th, 1945. Mark's letter arrived. We held. That was all it said for 3 paragraphs. The censor had blacked out everything else. But at the bottom in Mark's handwriting, the trucks ran silent even in the snow, even when everything else was screaming. They ran silent and they saved us. Thank whoever made that possible. Thank them from all of us. John folded the letter carefully. Put it with all the others. 73 letters now. 73 times his brother had written to say he was still alive. Thank you. John whispered to his bees, to the compound, to God, to whatever had made this possible. Thank you for keeping him alive. February through April 1945 blurred into exhausted triumph. The Allies were winning. Everyone could feel it. The radio reports showed steady advances. Germany was collapsing. The war was ending. But it wasn't over yet. Men were still dying. Supplies were still needed. And John kept producing compound, because stopping meant giving up, and he'd never learned how to do that. April 12th. President Roosevelt died. John's mother cried. His father looked 10 years older. But the work continued. Because the war continued, and soldiers still needed silent trucks. April 25th. American and Soviet forces met at the Elbe River. The radio announcer's voice shook with emotion. The Reich is split. Germany is defeated. It's only a matter of days now. John stood in the processing facility listening to workers cheer, felt nothing, couldn't feel triumph until Mark came home. May 7th, 1940. Germany surrendered. The announcement came over the radio at 2:41 p.m. VE Day, Victory in Europe. The workers stopped, stared at each other, then someone started crying, and then they were all crying, hugging, laughing, collapsing with relief. John walked outside, stood in the spring sunshine, looked at his hives, 500. Now millions of bees, and tried to process that it was over. His father found him there. We won, son. We actually won. Is Mark coming home? I don't know, but he's alive. That's what matters. John nodded, couldn't speak. The weight of 3.5 years crashed over him all at once. Every sleepless night, every batch of compound, every prayer that it would be enough. You did good, his father said quietly. I know you don't feel like a soldier, but son, you fought this war as hard as anyone. You just did it differently. I made honey lubricant, Pa. That's not... You saved 1,200 lives. Reeves told you that. Probably more by now. You kept convoys running. You kept your brother alive. That's not nothing. That's everything. John finally cried. Standing in his bee yard, surrounded by the tools of a war he'd fought from a farm in Iowa, he let himself break down. His father held him. Didn't say anything. Just held him while John sobbed out 3 years of fear and guilt and desperate hope. When he finally stopped, his father squeezed his shoulder. Now we wait for Mark to come home, and when he does, you can finally rest. May 15th. The letter arrived. I'm coming home. Can't say when exactly armies got to process everyone out, but I'm coming home. Made it through the whole damn war without a scratch. Well, mostly without a scratch. Got some stories to tell you. John, there's something I need to say. Something I couldn't say before because censors, that compound, the honey stuff. I know it was you. Don't know how, don't know why, but I know. And I want you to know that every guy in my unit knows too. We all figured it out. Iowa farmer making honey grease that kept us alive. You saved my life at least 6 times that I can count. Probably more I don't know about. Every silent convoy. Every quiet repositioning. Every time we moved through enemy territory without being heard. You couldn't fight. I know that hurt you. But brother, you fought harder than most. You just did it from home. See you soon. Love you and thank you from all of us. John read it until the words blurred, then showed it to his parents. His mother cried. His father gripped his shoulder and couldn't speak. That night, John went to the workshop. The original workshop where it had all started. It was dusty now. Production had moved to the industrial facility, but the old jars were still there, mixture 1 through 12. The failures that had led to success. He opened jar 12E, the original batch, almost 4 years old now, still stable, still perfect. We did it, he told the compound, told his bees, told himself. We actually did it. Outside, spring turned to summer. The war in the Pacific continued, but Europe was free. And somewhere between processing and discharge and the long journey home, Mark Carson was coming back to Iowa. Coming back to a brother who'd been told he was useless and had proved them wrong. Who'd been rejected from service and had served anyway. Who'd turned 20 million bees and some amateur chemistry into a weapon that had saved hundreds, maybe thousands of lives. The compound sat in its jar golden brown and silent, like everything John had made, like everything that mattered most. Victory had come. The war was won. And in a workshop in Madison County, surrounded by the smell of honey and the evidence of obsessive devotion, a man who couldn't fight finally allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, he'd done enough. Freedom had come to Europe, but for John Carson, freedom would come later, when his brother walked through that door, when he could finally stop working, when he could finally rest. Until then, there were still bees to tend, still honey to harvest, still life to live. And now, for the first time in years, there was hope that all of it had mattered. August 23, 1940. John was in the honey house when he heard the truck. Army transport. He'd heard enough of them over the past 4 years to recognize the engine sound even before it turned onto County Road G64. His hands froze on the jar he was holding. His father appeared in the doorway. John. They ran. The truck stopped in front of the house. The back gate dropped, and Mark Carson climbed out. Wearing a uniform that hung loose on his frame, carrying a duffel bag, looking older and thinner and alive. John couldn't move, couldn't breathe, just stood there watching his brother walk toward him. Mark dropped the duffel, opened his arms. Hey, Johnny! John crossed the distance. They collided hard, holding on like they might disappear if they let go. John felt Mark's ribs through his shirt, felt him shaking. Or maybe John was shaking, maybe they both were. You're home, John whispered. You're actually home. Told you I'd come back. Their mother appeared screaming. Crying, running. Their father followed, moving faster than John had seen him move in years. They collapsed into a family embrace on the front lawn, all 4 of them holding on and not letting go. The truck driver waited respectfully. When they finally pulled apart, Mark saluted him. Thank you, Corporal. Honor to drive you home, sir. The corporal looked at John. You're the brother, the one who made the compound. John blinked. How did you... Word gets around, sir. Entire motor pool knows about the Iowa farmer and his honey grease. Saved a lot of good men. He saluted John, too. Thank you for your service. Then he was gone, leaving John standing there confused while Mark laughed. Surprise Johnny, everyone knows. Well, not everyone, but everyone who drove supply convoys knows. Someone figured it out, traced the compound back to War Production Board, back to Iowa, back to you. By the end, guys were asking if their trucks were Iowa silent before they take them into contested territory. I wasn't supposed to... Espionage Act, I know. Official records probably don't say your name, but the guys who used it know. And we talk, we remember. Mark's smile faded. Can we go inside? I need to tell you something. They sat in the kitchen. Their mother made coffee. Their father just stared at Mark like he might vanish. Mark pulled a small notebook from his jacket. Worn, stained, the pages wrinkled from water damage. I kept this the whole war. Wasn't supposed to, but I did. He opened it. Every time a convoy using sweet silence made it through enemy territory, I wrote it down. Every time someone told me a story about silent trucks saving lives, I recorded it. He pushed the notebook across the table to John. John opened it with shaking hands. Page after page of dates, locations, unit numbers. All blacked out by Mark himself, security even now, but with notations beside them. June 13th, 1944, Carenton approach. 6 trucks. 30 men, 0 casualties. July 2nd, 1944, heard from Baker Company. 12 trucks through St. Lo, silent running, all survived. August 19th, 944, Paris supply run. 20 vehicles, no detection, the entries continued. Dozens of them, hundreds of lives. The last entry was dated May 5th, 1945. Final count 2 847 men confirmed alive because of silent convoys. Real number probably higher. Most will never know why they survived. But I know. We know. Thank you, brother, for refusing to accept useless, for turning bees into weapons, for saving us all. John couldn't read through the tears. His mother took the notebook. Read it and wept. His father gripped Mark's shoulder so hard his knuckles went white. 2,800 men, John whispered. That can't be accurate. Reeves said 1,200. Reeves had incomplete data. I talked to guys from other units, other divisions, every theater in Europe. Mark's voice was steady, but his hands shook. Your compound was used on over 6,000 vehicles by the war's end. Not all of them made it, but the ones that did so because they moved like ghosts. Because some farmer in Iowa figured out that honey and beeswax and pine resin could keep metal silent. I just mixed things until something worked. You saved my life. You saved thousands of lives. Mark reached across the table, gripped John's hand. I need you to understand that. Not feel it, not believe it. Understand it as fact. You fought this war as hard as anyone. You just did it from home. The recognition came slowly, quietly, like everything John had done. September 1940. Martin Reeves visited one last time. He looked healthier now, the war's weight lifting. Mr. Carson, I came to deliver final reports and compensation. He laid out papers. Total production 127,000 pounds of SSC-12E, used on 6 341 vehicles. Conservative estimate 2,800 lives directly saved. Indirect benefits improved supply line efficiency, reduced casualty rates in units with reliable logistics, probably triple that. 8,000 people, John's father said quietly, at minimum. Could be 10,000, could be more. We'll never know exact numbers. Reeves pulled out an envelope. The Army wanted to give you a medal. I told them you'd refuse it. I would, John confirmed. Thought so, so instead they authorized this. He opened the envelope, a check. John stared at the number. That's too much. I can't... That's the calculation of what petroleum-based lubricants would have cost the Army if they'd had to source them on the black market when supply lines were strained. Your compound saved the military roughly $2.3 million in procurement costs. That check is 10%. Reeves smiled. Buy more bees. After he left, John's mother looked at the check. John, this is enough to buy half of Madison County. Or expand the operation, John said quietly. Make this permanent. Hire more people. Give them real wages. Build something that lasts. His father nodded. You want to keep making honey. I want to keep proving that the things people dismiss as useless can save the world. The story should have ended there. Should have been John and Mark running the farm together, building something lasting, living quiet lives after loud war. But the Pacific Theater still burned. And in September 1945, John received another telegram. SSC-12E requested Pacific operations. Stop jungle conditions, require testing, stop, request. 5,000 pounds for evaluation, stop. He looked at Mark, who'd been home barely 3 weeks. I'm done, Mark said immediately. I'm not going back, can't go back. I'm not asking you to, I'm asking if it's worth it, if I should keep doing this. Mark was quiet for a long time. Then, how many guys are still over there fighting? I don't know. Thousands. Tens of thousands. Then it's worth it. Someone else's brother needs to come home. They produced 5,000 pounds in October. The compound performed well in jungle humidity. Orders increased. Then on August 15, 1945, Japan surrendered. The final shipment of Sweet Silence compound left Iowa on August 20th. 3,000 pounds. Used on occupation vehicles in Japan and Germany through 1946. And then it was over. Actually over. No more telegrams. No more urgent orders. No more war. The years that followed were quieter. John and Mark ran the farm together. Expanded to 800 hives. Hired 40 workers. Carson Honey became the largest operation in Iowa known for quality and consistency. They never advertised the war connection. Never mentioned Sweet Silence in promotional materials. It remained classified until 1953 when the Army declassified World War II logistics reports. Even then, John refused interviews. Refused recognition. When reporters came asking about the honey that won the war, he sent them away. It wasn't the honey Hawots, he told Mark. It was the men who used it. The drivers who kept going, the soldiers who fought. That's the story. You're part of that story. I'm the footnote. They're the text. In 1967, Mark died of a heart attack at age 53. The war had taken more from him than was visible. The stress, the memories, the weight of survival when so many hadn't. His funeral was attended by 67 veterans. Men John had never met but who knew Mark's name, who remembered convoys and silent trucks and a notebook full of lives saved. One of them, a gray-haired man named Thomas Whitmore, approached John after the service. "You're the brother, the beekeeper." "I am." "Mark talked about you, about what you did." Whitmore's eyes were wet. "I drove supply trucks from Normandy to Berlin, every single run using that compound. I'm alive because of you. My kids exist because of you, my grandkids, all of us, because some guy in Iowa figured out how to make wheels stop squeaking. You just saved my life. Don't diminish that." Whitmore gripped his hand. "Thank you, from all of us who made it home. Thank you." 67 veterans, each one with a story, each one alive because metal ran silent through war. John Carson died on January 15, 1971, age 75, in the same house where he'd received his 4F rejection letter 29 years earlier. His funeral was smaller than Mark's. Just family and workers and friends from town. No reporters, no military honors, no recognition. But on his grave, one of the veterans, John's mother, never learned which left a small glass jar. Inside was a golden brown compound that smelled of honey and pine. No label, just the jar. It sat there for years. Through rain and snow and summer heat. Never broke down, never liquefied, never froze solid. Just like John designed it. Stable across all conditions. Reliable when it mattered most. In 1989, a military historian named Dr. Sik, Rebecca Chen, granddaughter of Lieutenant Robert Chen, published a paper titled Silent Warfare, The Untold Story of Logistics Innovation in WWII. It devoted an entire chapter to Sweet Silence Compound and John Carson. The paper noted conservative estimates suggest SSC-12E directly contributed to the survival of 803-200 Allied personnel. Indirect benefits improved. Supply chain efficiency, reduced detection rates, enhanced operational security likely tripled that impact. Yet John Carson received no military decoration, no public recognition, and refused all attempts at acknowledgement. His contribution remains one of World War II's quietest victories. The paper found 17 surviving veterans who'd used Sweet Silence. Dr. Chen interviewed them all. Captain James Miller, age 71. "We called it ghost grease. Put it on a truck and suddenly you're invisible. Not really invisible, but you might as well be. Saved my convoy 4 times that I can count. Probably more I don't know about." Sergeant Mary Patterson, age 69. "I drove ambulances in France. We used that compound on everything: wheels, doors, stretcher brackets. Could move through the night picking up wounded without alerting enemy artillery. How many lives did that save? Can't count them all." Private First Class to David Wu, age 68. "Last convoy before Germany surrender, how did we were running ammunition through territory we thought was clear. Wasn't clear. Germans everywhere. But they didn't hear us. We delivered that ammo. Next day, our artillery used it to support the final push. War ended a week later. You can draw a straight line from that silent convoy to victory. And you can draw it back further to some farmer in Iowa who never gave up. The Carson farm still operates. John's great-niece runs it now. 500 hives, 15 workers. They produce honey that's shipped across the country. In the office hangs a framed photograph. 6 army trucks in formation. White letters on the lead vehicle, Sweet Silence. Beside it, a small brass plaque, John Winslow Carson, 1895-1971. He couldn't fight, so he found another way to serve. Estimated lives saved 3,000 plus recognition received. None requested, none desired. Every year on June 6th, D-Day, the farm hosts an open house. Veterans come. Families of veterans. History students. People who want to remember that war isn't just soldiers and generals. It's farmers and scientists and factory workers. It's people who contribute in ways no one sees but everyone needs. Last year, 347 people attended. The oldest was 94, a veteran who'd driven trucks through Belgium in 1944. The youngest was 6th great-great-grandson of a man whose convoy made it home because their wheels ran silent. The veteran told the child, Your grandfather lived because someone cared enough to try something everyone said was stupid, because someone refused to believe that honey and beeswax couldn't win wars. The child asked, "Did it work?" You're here, aren't you? Your grandfather survived to have kids, those kids had kids, and here you are, so yes, it worked. There's a lesson in this story, not about honey or beeswax or chemical compounds, about what happens when ordinary people refuse to accept that they're ordinary. John Carson was rejected from military service, was told he was unfit, useless, could contribute nothing to the war effort. He refused to believe it. Instead, he took the things he knew, bees, honey, amateur chemistry, and turned them into weapons. Not guns, not bombs, but something quieter and in its way just as deadly to the enemy. He saved thousands of lives, made history, changed warfare, and did it all from a farm in Iowa while the world looked elsewhere. That's the real victory, not the battles won or medals earned, but the quiet contributions, the footnotes, the people who served by refusing to accept useless. The wars we remember are fought by millions, but they're won by individuals, by farmers and factory workers and nurses and engineers, by people who see problems and solve them, who see needs and fill them, who save lives not with heroics but with stubbornness. John Carson never wanted recognition, never sought glory, just wanted his brother to come home, wanted other brothers to come home too. And they did. 3,000 of them at minimum, probably more. All because a man who couldn't fight found another way to serve. His grave sits in Madison County Cemetery. Row 7, Plot 23. Simple headstone, just name and dates. No mention of war, no list of accomplishments. But if you visit in summer, you'll hear bees. The hives from Carson Farm are visible from the cemetery. The sound carries on the wind. 20 million bees, still making honey, still proving that the smallest creatures can change the world, still reminding us that silence, the right kind of silence, can speak louder than any battle cry. If you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, if you think the quiet heroes should be honored alongside the loud ones, then share this. Tell someone about John Carson, about sweet silence, about the farmer who couldn't fight but saved thousands anyway, because memory is how we honor the past. Memory is how we learn for the future. Memory is how we ensure that the contributions of ordinary people doing extraordinary things never fade into silence. Not all battles are won with guns. Not all heroes wear uniforms. And not all victories are celebrated with parades. Sometimes the greatest triumph is the one nobody hears. The silent convoy. The ghost grease. The farmer in Iowa who refused to accept useless. Remember them. Remember him. Remember that changing the world doesn't require headlines. Just stubbornness, creativity, and the refusal to give up. Share this story. Write John Carson's name in the comments. Let his quiet victory echo a little louder. Because the world needs to know that wars aren't just won by soldiers. They're won by everyone who refuses to be useless, everyone who finds their own way to serve, everyone who proves that even the smallest contribution, even honey and beeswax mixed in a workshop at 3 a.m. can save thousands of lives. Remember John Carson. Remember sweet silence. Remember that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. If we forget them, we forget what makes victory possible, and we can't afford to forget.